Hello, everybody. Welcome to Funk Film Reviews. Last one I did was about all my favorite films of every year I was born, like the best movie of every year I was born, in my opinion. This one's going to be a little bit different. This one's going to be my most overrated films of the year I was born to 2023, because, again, this year's not over. I already think I know which one's going to be that one, but I'm still not doing it. And when I say overrated, I don't mean I hate these films. Some I do. I just mean that they're that I don't think they get that's the praise they should get. But and now I'm gonna start with number one. Now, I wasn't a fan of this film. I'm not gonna lie. This, in my opinion, and my Funkin' Koostras film reviews, I actually did this as the worst supporting actor win of all time, in my opinion. And this movie stars Dudley Moore. It stars Liza Minnelli. It stars John Gielgud, who won the Oscar. In my opinion, I did not like that win at all, and I'm not really a big fan of this movie. And that movie is Arthur. I wasn't a big fan of Arthur. That is my most overrated film of 1981. My most overrated film, 1982. Now, I guess I look at it now and it looks so incredibly cheesy. And this movie stars Jeff Bridges. It's a Dexter. It is it's a sci-fi and all that, and it had dealt with them living in a video game. And this movie is called Tron. Now, Tron was okay. It's a mediocre film. The lighting is kind of cool, but other than that, it's my most overrated film of 1982. My most overrated film of 1983. Now, I actually like this film. I just think it's an overrated film. I think Al Pacino's best performance is either a toss-up between Frank Serpico or Michael Corleone. But the star is Al Pacino. And this is Brian De Palma's Scarface. Now, like I said, it's a very good movie, but it's incredibly overrated. And that's why it is my most overrated film of 1983. My most overrated film of 1984 stars Kevin Bacon, John Lithgow, and he just has to dance. It's what he has to do. And that movie it's not a complete crap movie again. It's an incredibly mediocre bleh movie, and that movie is Footloose. Now, the only reason why I think that song is because that song got incredibly big. Now, 1985, let's say the first three of this series I love. This one is number 4 and 5 of this, and this is number 4. They were kind of but like the first three, especially the first one of this movie, and that is Sylvester Stallone's Rocky IV. Rocky IV is the most overrated film of 1985. I love the first three Rockies, especially the first one. The first Rocky is in my top 5 films of all time, but Rocky IV, nah. Number 1986, another kind of, it's not a complete crap movie. It's a mediocre film. It has Johnny Five as a robot, and that movie is Short Circuit. It's okay. And 1987, my most overrated film, stars Michael Douglas. He did a good job, but the movie itself was not the best. It's a mild thumbs down for me, but he won Best Actor for it. And this movie is the only movie in Oscar history and Razzie history to win acting nominations in both Razzies and Oscars the same year. Daryl Hannah won Worst Supporting Actress at the Razzies, and Michael Douglas won Best Actor at the Oscars. And my most overrated film of 1987, and like I said, it's a mild thumbs down. And that is Wall Street. Now, my most overrated film of 1988, don't hate me, I do like this film, I actually like the third one of this the best, but I think it's overrated. I'm sorry. And that's Die Hard. Yes, I know. Anger's going to come, but Die Hard is incredibly overrated. It's still a good movie. It's still a thumbs up, but it's overrated. Now, 1989 is actually the movie that won Best Picture. I wasn't too keen on, and that was Driving Miss Daisy. I wasn't really... That's one of the Best Picture winners. There's actually going to be a few Best Picture winners on here. And again, I don't hate every one of these Best Picture winners, but I do find them overrated. And Driving Miss Daisy, I just wasn't a big fan of. My favorite movie that was in that category, actually my favorite movie of that year is Dead Poets Society. But Driving Miss Daisy was meh. Now, 1990, my most overrated film, stars Johnny Depp, Tracy Lords. It's a John Waters film, and it's called Crybaby. I know this is a cult hit, but it just wasn't my cup of tea. All right, and 1991. This actually, we did a best of and a worst of, and I like Martin Scorsese as a director. I do. But this was my worst film of his. And some people will be like, well, how could it be your worst? It just is. And that movie is a remake, actually, and that movie was Cape Fear. I just wasn't a big fan of Cape Fear. I mean, it's okay, but it's not great. So Cape Fear is my most overrated film of 1991. 1992. Now, this is the only movie with Steven Seagal in that actually has an Academy Award nomination for sound editing. I'm going to say this right now, cannot stand. I think Steven Seagal is the worst actor known to man. Now, this movie, oddly enough, Tommy Lee Jones did good, but somehow Seagal got on screen and just ruined it. Like, Seagal is a master of ruining film. He's awful. That movie is Under Siege. So yes, Under Siege is my most overrated film. Surprisingly, it was the only Seagal movie I put on here, but yeah. Now, 1993... This was a Halloween kids movie. It's not Nightmare Before Christmas. That one actually I do like. And this one's okay. But it's with Bette Midler. I liked it when I was a kid. But I watched it now and just kind of... No, not really. And that's with Bette Midler, Kathy Najimy, and Sarah Jessica Parker. And that was Hocus Pocus. Hocus Pocus is my most overrated film of 1993. 1994 my most overrated film. And I do think this is a good movie, by the way. It's a good action film, but just with what came out that year, it's not the best. And it's with Keanu Reeves, and it is with Sandra Bullock and Dennis Hopper. And the most overrated film of 1994 is Speed, in my opinion. 1995, most overrated film, Will Smith, Martin Lawrence, Bad Boys. Wasn't a fan. Sorry, just it is what it is. 1996 was the good old Tornado movie with Bill Paxton and Helen Hunt, and that movie was Twisters. I never got into it. It was a mild thumbs down. I'm sorry. I know a lot of people love Twister, not really my cup of tea. Now, this one actually did make my top 10, but oddly enough, and this is the only case when they had 5 Oscar nominations at the time, every Best Picture winner or Best Picture nomination was actually in my top 10. My top 10. But this one, oddly enough, was my least favorite of them. And some people, the special effects were great, but it swept 11 Oscars. It was nominated for 14. But yeah, my most overrated film, don't hate me, it's Titanic. It's a good movie. It is. But it's overrated. So yes, that's my most overrated film of 1997. 1998 won Best Picture. Shouldn't have won Best Picture. I think this is the worst Best Picture winner ever. And that was Shakespeare in Love. I didn't like it at all. And 1999, my most overrated film. I just don't get how this became a huge thing. It had the shaky camera. Was that horror film, The Blair Witch Project? No, I didn't like it at all. So it gets in my Now, 2001. I classify every one of these films overrated in this film, but I put the first one because that's when it came out, and I don't want to repeat myself and say this year. But yes, Fast and the Furious. I hate this movie franchise. Don't know how people like it. Not my cup of tea. 2001, the most overrated film is The Fast and the Furious. 2002, I do like the Harry Potter films, except this one, Chamber of Secrets. I was not a fan of Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, so it is my most overrated film of 2002. My most overrated film of 2003, I don't know how this became a thing, but the movie Holes. I went on those favorite, and the only reason why I say this is because I went on a lot of these people with favorite films, and a lot of these people were saying their favorite films of that year was Holes, and I don't see it. I just don't. All right, and 2004. This was actually in my top 15 worst films of all time, and I know a lot of people love it, but I despise. So yes, it's the most overrated film. It even won Best Movie at the MTV Movie Awards that year, and that's Napoleon Dynamite. Sorry. Don't like it. It's awful. My opinion, though. Now, I do like this film, but I do say it's the most overrated film of 2005. Because they're just movies I liked better than this. Got like huge. Actually, a lot of people were pissed off this didn't win Best Picture that year. And yes, I'm going to get flack for this one, but the most overrated film of 2005, in my opinion, is Brokeback Mountain. Now, I do like the film, but it's funny, a lot of like Watch Mojo and these other ones are like, oh, it should have won, and then they crap on Crash. But I'm going to tell you something. Out of all the Best Picture nominees that year, Crash and Brokeback were not my favorites in that category. My favorite movie that year was Sin City, but my second favorite film of that year was Capote, with Truman Capote, with Philip Seymour Hoffman. Love that film. But Brokeback Mountain, it was okay. But it was a mild thumbs up. It's still a thumbs up. But I think it's overrated. Sorry. It is what it is. And after 2005, the 2006, this movie beat out my best foreign language film and that year. And my favorite film of 2006 was Pan's Labyrinth, and this movie took home. Actually, Pan's Labyrinth won 3 Oscars. It was nominated in foreign language film, and this movie beat it. And I did watch it, and it's okay. And that's The Lives of Others. The Lives of Others, I think, because it beat Pan's Labyrinth, will be my most overrated film of that year. So yes, I have kind of a grudge against it because I loved Pan's Labyrinth. To the point where I think Pan's Labyrinth, I almost said it like Mike Tyson, Pan's Labyrinth. Pan's Labyrinth is the best film of 2006 in my opinion. And this movie's okay, but I don't think it should have won that. And it is, because of that, it is my most overrated film. My most overrated film of 2007 was Michael Clayton. Now, Michael Clayton is also a good movie. Like Tilda Swinton, she did fantastic. George Clooney, but I don't know. Like it just but I just didn't think it should have been a top 5 Best Picture winner or Best Picture nominee. I think that No Country for Old Men and There Will Be Blood are better films. And No Country won. My favorite movie was Sweeney Todd, and that didn't even get a Best Picture nomination that year. But it did take home Best Picture Musical Comedy at the Golden Globes. But yeah, so Michael Clayton is my most overrated film of 2007. 2008, my most overrated film is The Pineapple Express. Now, it has moments, but it's still kind of not that great. So yeah, Pineapple Express, I think I don't know. It's my most over. And 2009, my most overrated film, because of the box office it made. Now, just like Titanic, okay? I do like this film, but it is my most overrated film of that year. And that movie is Avatar. Avatar was, I like a lot of movies that were in Best Picture better than Avatar. It's still a good movie, but it's overrated, in my opinion. And like I said, this is just all my opinion. You don't have to. My most overrated film of 2010 is the second film directed by Ben Affleck. And Jeremy Renner did a good, but it's just kind of, it's a robbery film, a robbery love story. And I think it's because a lot of people, but the movie The Town, it's kind of in the middle for me for being, it's not crappy, but it's not great. But it's overrated. So the movie The Town with good old Ben Affleck, Jeremy Renner, Rebecca Hall, John Hamm, like it has a great cast, but just it's a mediocre film. 2011. Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close. How the hell was this in the Best Picture category? 2 nominations, and how the hell did Drive not make it into the Best Picture category? Drive, to me, is not only the best film of 2011, it is my favorite film of the 2010s decade, and Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close got a Best Picture nomination. Why? I'm sorry, wasn't a good film. So... And yes, that's why it's overrated. So that is why it's in there. Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close. And after that, another Best Picture winner. And again, it's actually a decent movie. It's still a thumbs up. But I wouldn't give it the praise that a lot of... And that is Argo. Argo to me is the most... My favorite film of that year was Django Unchained. Like, I freaking love Django. But Argo won Best Picture. To me, it's just kind of a mediocre, all right, a mild thumbs up, but not fantastic film. So Argo gets the most overrated film of 2000 and 2012. 2013 is the film Gravity. Now, good special effects for a movie theater and all that, but it's just Sandra Bullock floating in space, and I didn't like it. I mean, yes, technical awards, but like I didn't like, and then you get to see her move around in space, and yeah, I found Gravity incredibly boring. I am not going to say it's the worst film. Like, that's why I said it's overrated. It's after Gravity 2014, another Best Picture winner, although like I think it's an all right film, Birdman. Birdman is the most overrated film of 2014. And this is funny. All three that were the one cinematography. So yeah, Gravity, Birdman, and now 2015, Leo finally won his Oscar, but it just wasn't a big fan of it. The Revenant is where it deals with this guy trying to survive the wilderness, and Leo ate raw meat and just acted basically paralyzed the entire. And The Revenant is, in my opinion, yeah, like it's weird. All three movies that won cinematography in a row, same cinematographer, made the three most overrated films of those. It's weird, but that just happened to be that way. What's after that? Oh, yeah. This movie won makeup, and it always baffles me. It's not a critically acclaimed movie, and I still think it's overrated. This movie sucks, and I still think it's overrated, and that's Suicide Squad. Suicide Squad is the most overrated film of 2016. Hated Suicide Squad. 2017, now, and that's kind of a horror film that came out, and that's the movie Get Out. Could you imagine if they reversed the race of this movie about a bunch of white people trying to get the best athlete and taking all these part of black people, and like with this, it's a horror movie about this family that meets their daughter's fiance type thing, and he's a black guy, and then they find out all these black people. If they made this the opposite, it would be called racist. But yet this movie had a huge following, and that's why I say Get Out is the most overrated film of that year, and Call Me By Your Name. So it's kind of two movies that I think are incredibly overrated. Don't hate me on the Call Me By Your Name. I don't get how they... that one's a double feature of tie for most overrated films. Get Out and Call Me By Your Name. Then after that is most overrated film of 2000 and 2018, Black Panther. Now I was like, it's an okay film, but it shouldn't have got Best Picture nomination. I'm sorry. It is what it is. Black Panther is my most overrated film. Now a lot of people are going to hate me for this one because on 2019, again, this one actually did make my top 10 list, but I just thought there were better movies nominated for Best Picture, and it's almost like they just gave it to, because it was a foreign, they wanted to finally give a foreign language movie its Oscar, and that movie is Parasite. My favorite movie that year was Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I was really hoping for Tarantino to get his Oscar, but it felt like they just pushed and rushed it to get that, because they didn't like the fact Roma didn't win the year before, and Parasite, I'm sorry, it's a good movie, but it's overrated. And 2020, Borat, subsequent movie film. I don't get how that was. I hated that film. I didn't find it funny at all. And 2021, Steven Spielberg with his remake of West Side Story. I love the original the good old 1950, I think it was 1951 is when it came out, or 1950? 1951. No, wait. The original West Side Story came out in 1960. It came out in the 60s. 1961. And I loved it. I thought it was like a perfect musical. I don't know why they decided to... Basically, it just felt like a rehashing. Same thing what they did with the movie Psycho with Gus Van Sant. But yet they gave this a Best Picture nomination. And I'm like, no, Spielberg, if you wanted to make a movie that like is in honor of West Side Story, please do that. But why? Why West Side Story remake? No. So yes, West Side Story, 2021, most overrated film of that year. Now, 2022, a lot of people like this one and all that, and I love Batman movies. Like Dark Knight was my favorite, second favorite movie of all time. And this one just seemed incredibly slow, and it was just kind of stuck in the middle for me. And that's The Batman, like The Batman with Robert Pattinson. I wish they would have showed more with Colin Farrell's character. I didn't like how it just was too long, and yeah, so The Batman is my most overrated. My worst film of that year is Pinocchio, the remake of Pinocchio with Tom Hanks. Yeah, but The Batman is the most overrated. And 2023, my most overrated film, and I feel bad because I like Bradley Cooper. He's a good actor. But my most overrated film, somehow this got into the Best Picture, and I just wasn't a fan of this film. And that movie is Maestro. Maestro is my most overrated film of 2023. So yes, those are my most overrated films of the years that I was born to now. Thank you very much. Bye.